me. I'm on mute. Fix my camera, bring it down a little bit. What's up, everybody? Making sure y'all can hear me out there. How we doing? Let's see how we looking. Happy Monday, everybody. We are live. Okay, we are live from the Wolf Den again. Another Monday. I gotta get better, and I'm holding myself accountable. Haven't been able, didn't make it down to the center today. Had to deal with some stuff, and yeah, and now we're home. So we're live. Thank you to everybody for joining. What's going on, Eric? Happy Monday. So again, if you see the change of scenery, again, we are back. We are back in the Wolf Cave, the Wolf Den. The center is unfortunately closed today due to some unforeseen circumstances. Had to make some adjustments. So we're going to go ahead and take on the next part of the Appsec Rabbit Hole, where we're actually starting to get into applications, and we're starting with web applications today. So if you have any questions, you could just leave it in the chat here. Please be sure. I hope you be sure to like, follow, subscribe, tell a friend. We are live. It's been a pretty it's been a pretty eventful week, and it's only Monday. I will probably be making some content around it. So I'm not going to divulge too much into it, but I will make one announcement that we can talk about, and that is that beyond our streams and gaming and stuff that we're doing, we're going to get back to creating regular content for the Alpha Cybersecurity platforms. So that'll be alphacybersecurity.tech. That website will be coming back. What's going on, L Style? So we'll be revamping alphacybersecurity.tech. We'll also be creating regular content back on Alpha Cybersecurity's YouTube channel. So we'll be doing that. Contracts and commitments are done. So we're back to focusing on us and betting on ourselves. So we're gonna go ahead and the one thing I will say, because like I said, there'll probably be some form of content about it, but the one thing I will say to people is that it is, thank you. I know we're, regardless of whatever you want to call it, I know we're going, things are a little difficult right now, but never allow someone or people to feel like they can take advantage of you or play with you in your face. Even if sometimes it's the hard decision to make, and it's going to be rough times for the temporary. Don't allow no one to feel like they have dominion over you. Will you be holding any cybersecurity pen testing workshops this summer? Yes, L Style, we will. I'm announcing that too, so we'll go ahead and applause for that. We'll be back to the workshops. We'll also be doing cybersecurity cohorts. So we're launching a we're launching a cybersecurity cohort very soon. I'm just finishing up the content. I should have the bandwidth to kind of make that happen now. But yeah, we'll be creating a program that will cover some stuff, as well as security plus content, security plus topics, and then we'll get into some hands-on stuff as well. The goal is to get you certified and at least get you out there. We're looking to see if we can partner with some other organizations to help with the job search. But I know that was a long-winded answer, but yes, we'll be going back to cybersecurity workshops and pen testing workshops, as well as cyber safety for teens, gamers, senior citizens. We're doing the whole thing. So yes, we are back to our regularly scheduled programs. We'll be back to creating some cybersecurity content. Also, if you know anybody who, uh, you know, who does some video editing, let me know, because we'll probably be utilizing that as well. So yeah, so we're back. We're back at it. I'm excited. You know, had some behind the scenes conversations and things like that, and decided that this would be the best move for me and my family. Um, no, no ill will to anyone or any other place, but like I said, don't let don't allow someone to feel like they can diminish your value. You know what you can bring to the table. You know what you do. You know what you bring to the table. You know what you're worth. You know what you're capable of. So don't let no one else tell you otherwise. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're gonna jump into Try Hack Me. So this is Appsec Operation Appsec Rabbit Hole Day 11. It's crazy that we're in Day 11 already, but we are finally getting into the realm of possibilities that deals with applications. We talked about all the stuff, the basics, and some of the fundamentals. And this is actually also more fundamentals. It's actually just looks like it's just a little bit more in depth of what we covered last week with web fundamentals. Lately, I've been working with the official CompTIA Security X labs because I don't have job experience. Yeah, Elsa, like I said, there's a lot of opportunity. I get it, and I would say keep up at it, because you got to get the hands-on experience. And I know that's the conundrum there, right? It's like I can't get a job because I don't have experience, but I don't have experience because I can't get a job. So um I would, like I said before, I don't think you were on those early streams when we started. Hey, what's going on? How's things? CCIE by 30. What's going on? A long time no see. I've been kind of in the weeds and laying low, but thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Um Elsa, what I would say is just document it. You know, document it, try to make content around it, so you're able to showcase that the hands-on knowledge that you're gaining. Um, Eric, stupid companies. Yeah, you know what? I said it. I'm not gonna say whatever. You know, I'm not gonna say stupid. My thing is, you know, if you, I'm old school in the sense, in so many ways, right? Like I don't, I don't believe in all the. I don't run, try to run my mouth about everything. I don't go and whatever. Like I'm old school. Like I just don't. And but I also believe in respect and integrity and keeping your word. And if you, as a person, as an organization, as a CEO or whatever, if you give somebody or something, you give your word for something, you can't back up on that. And when you do, then that trust is broken. Creating content, yeah, hey, there, we got to. Uh, I don't want to knock anybody else's content, but I feel like all of us who were doing it a few years kind of took a break and kind of sat back and just watched what's been going on, and I just feel like we owe it to we owe it to the people who do follow us and trust us to treat put them in the right, send them down the right path. Made a YouTube short about getting SDR content to display on Firefox without. being washed out. Didn't expect anyone to like it. Hey, look, you never know, man. Like Eric, you never know. I'll be honest with you. When I first started creating content, I was putting out stuff. The street, the streets do. Yeah, the streets need us. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, shorts, a combination. What I did learn, um, in the last 6 months is it's all about being strategic, right? So the content you make, like I said, sometimes it's the content you least expect to do well that does very well, and then the content that you be like, yeah, we gonna hit them over the head with this, it doesn't do well. Um, analytics. Look at what everybody's see what everybody's paying attention to. You know, invest in like a vidIQ or a TubeBuddy account. Even if you start off with the free version of vidIQ allows you to do like 3 queries a day to actually see what would if you type in a topic, it will create an idea for content, and then it'll tell you what the SEO ranking or what the score would be, so it kind of gives you an idea of how well it might do when you post it. The other thing I would say is if you have a lot of long form content, then yeah, I would repurpose a lot of content into shorts. There's a lot of and I'm gonna say the dirty word. There's a lot of AI applications out there right now that will break up your content and actually make the clips for you. Like I said, there's like Opus Clip. There's a few programs out there that will clip up your stuff for you and find those basically the high points and make them into clips, and then you can upload the clips. And then you kind of use something like a CapCut or whatever to do a little bit of captioning, maybe do some closed captioning on there, throw it out there. So like I said, the last 6 months I've learned a lot, and I'm gonna apply that back to my content now that I'm free to do so. And yeah, like I said, the streets need us, and we need to do it the right way. So that's what we're gonna be doing. So web application basics. Honestly, like I said, we talked about this the other day when we did web fundamentals. I'm using Caden Live. I haven't seen that one before, but I'm gonna take a look at it. But shoot, even if you go on Fiverr and get yourself a video editor, like there's I clean up the content and just put it out there. And like I said, and don't just be beholden to one platform. Like right now, we're streaming on Twitch and YouTube, and the reason why is because I'll get more. The live streams do better on Twitch, but the replay value does better on YouTube. And now there's no rules that say you can't multi-stream. So like when I was doing it before, I was kind of bending the rules, so I couldn't multi-stream like that and keep stuff up. So it had to like be deleted immediately, or I couldn't do it from an affiliate or partner account. Now they don't mind it, so you can stream everywhere. So don't you look at multi-platform and content. All right, so we talked about web application or web basics the other day. Same thing. So we're going to go into web application basics. It's the same thing that we talked about. We're going to learn about the uniform resource locators. Again, so URLs. We're going to talk about HTTP requests. We're going to get in a little bit more about that, and then we're going to get into the responses. So again, we did a lot of this in the web fundamentals, but I think it's good to do this and kind of have it broken down a little bit more. So if I seem like I'm speeding through it, it's because again we talked about this in I think day 9 and day 10, one of those days last week. So just you can review those, but if you really want me to come back and kind of slow down and elaborate a little bit more, just tell me chill out and let's and fall back a little. So web application overviews. So remember we were talking about web applications before. You had your front end and then you had your back end. So your front end of web applications, that's where you're using like your HTML code. This is where you're using your CSS and your JavaScript, right? So the front end is basically, think of the front end is as the you know the pretty side, right? This is what you get. This is what you get to see. This is like, it's like when you play a video game, right? You see the graphics, you see the you see the story, you see the artwork and the design. That's all front end. And then you have your back end. Your back end is more with the stuff that's kind of making the stuff work. So this is the stuff like your database. This is your infrastructure. This is they now they talk about web application firewall, but this is the stuff that's happening on the back that's making things look good on the front end. So your front end, you have your code, you have your HTML, you have your cascading style sheets, and you have your JavaScript. That's what you see here, right? So that's what it looks like here, right? And then there's code behind it. So obviously you have your, whoops, where am I? Let's get out of here. So basically you have your, will it let me do it here from inspect? No, I have to share the whole screen. All right, we're not going to do that. What's going on, Ty? Happy Monday. So anyway, like I said, so this is all the stuff, your front end. So this is your coding, this is certain colors, certain edits or anything you need to do, and then your JavaScript is what allows you to interact with the website, right? So this is allowing you to click things and interact with things on the website. That's the main purpose of JavaScript. And then, like I said, backend, this is your database. This is what's storing a lot of your information, storing a lot of your data. If you're logging into it, right, there's a database. There's a database that stores all of that information that allows you to retrieve data when needed or whatever you need to do. Then there's other infrastructure. So TryHackMe says there's infrastructure components underpinning web applications such as web servers, application servers, storage, various networking devices, and other software that supports the web application. So here it's showing you like a planet, and then it's showing you like these are like the buildings in the city, the roads, the cars that run on the roads, and the fuel that powers the cars, right? So that's that, right? And then you have your web application firewall. So remember, we talked about firewalls last week. I said think of a firewall as like a bouncer, like a club bouncer. You go in and you're like, hey, I would like to. I'm supposed to go to the bar. And they check your name on the list. And are you supposed to? Do you have access? Do you have permission? Did the manager or the club owner say, yeah, they're cool? All right, cool. You can enter the club. If you don't, then you get blocked and they send you on your way. That's essentially what a firewall does. A firewall is going to filter anything that it deems to be dangerous or unsafe to the website or the web server. And then anything that you allow through it, it'll look at that allow list or that access control list or the whitelist or whatever it is you want to call it, and make sure that it's supposed to have access. So, for example, if I have a web application firewall up and I say, let's say some network package or something tries to come through and is deemed to be dangerous, right? That firewall is going to look at it, inspect it, pat it down, and go, nah, hold on, something about you's not safe. Go that way. Okay. Next generation firewalls just means it's smarter than blocking ports. Yeah. Next generation firewalls are a little bit more enhanced. They have some more enhanced features. They allow you to do, they allow you to block more than just your ports. They allow, hold on. Don't get me to lying. They'll do more inspection. They'll do like deep packet inspection. It can do application based stuff. Yes, Eric. So like I said, it'll next generation firewalls. Well, like I said, they allow you to it does a little bit more analyzation, right? It'll do more analysis on the network packets and make sure that it is indeed safe or unsafe. Okay. That's known as like deep packet inspection, and it allows you to kind of detect anything that might be hidden or obfuscated in what you're sending in. All right, so there's a lot of components involved. Okay, which component on a computer is responsible for hosting and delivering content to web applications? That would be the web server. Learn how to spell. Okay, which tool is used to access and interact with web applications? That would be your web. Learn how to spell. Learn how to type. Web browser. And then which component acts like a protective layer? That's your FAP. Grow up, Davin. It's your web application firewall. So how's everybody's week been going? How's everybody's Monday? Like I said, my Monday was eventful from the moment I sat down at my desk at 6:30 this morning. Doesn't reverse or forward or reverse proxies behave in a similar way? L style, yes and no. The whereas the proxies aren't really doing any type of like detection, right? The forward and reverse proxies aren't actually like analyzing the data or checking anything in the for the firewall. They're basically just they're basically, think of them as like middlemen, or intermediaries. Quiet, thankfully. Woke up at 4 a.m. due to cats and just woke up from a nap. I'm out of it. Hey, what's going on, Thumbstick? Happy Monday. I know I still owe you an email. I was off today to get my tags and help my son. Yeah, you know what? I gotta go and get my car. Like, I gotta get my car registered. I gotta renew my license. I gotta go do freaking emissions testing. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, like I said, so yeah, but to your thing, Elsa, or Eric, the proxy. Actually, who asked that question? Life happens. We're on that grind. Nah, yeah. Eric, I'm out of Georgia. I'm located in Georgia. So yes, like I said, so the proxies, yeah, you can use it to kind of evaluate stuff, and it will actually, you can actually use it to kind of help protect your resources, but it's not as, I don't want to say, it's not as maybe as robust as a firewall. Okay, uniform resource locator. So remember, we talked about this the other day. We talked about the scheme, the user, the host domain path. We talked about whether it was like the subdomain versus versus a path, right? So you have your scheme here. So your scheme would tell you what type of protocol is being used. So for web applications, you're going to see HTTP or HTTPS. Remember, HTTPS is basically the same thing as HTTP, but it's secure. If you use HTTP and you're sending any information in HTTP, if someone is sitting on that network, then they'll be able to intercept that information that's being passed, and is basically readable, as opposed to HTTPS, where they're going to use some type of encryption, which will make it harder to decipher. If they're using up to date encryption, then it won't work at all. Like if you're using like TLS 1.3 or something, then you won't. But if you're using something like SSL version 1 or 2, you can break that. Then you have your user. This, again, you're not really seeing this too much on the internet like that, because this would basically be a vulnerability. This would be a finding here, because this is your credentials. So you're not going to see that so much here. You might see it in some other stuff, like if this were like RTSP, right? So real time streaming, right? So remember the other day I showed you the cameras I was working on, and that uses the RTSP. So the URL for the RTSP would say RTSP for the scheme, and then it has the username and password for the camera, and then them, and then the information or whatever ports. So so you won't really see that on like a regular URL. If you do, then like I said, report it. You might get some money for it. Then you have your domain, and then you have the port. Typically, you won't see the port open. Just know that if it's regular HTTP, it's insecure, but it's also on port 80. But if you use HTTPS, that's by default. It's on port 443. And then you have your path. So that's like if another the resource is trying to access, you have your query string and your fragment. If it were a subdomain, you would see, instead of tryhackme.com, it would be, I don't know, room.tryhackme.com, right? So remember, anything further to the left of the domain is your subdomain. Like if there's a dot if there's a trailing word or whatever in a dot, that means that's a subdomain, versus if there's a slash and then a word after that, that's a path. To my understanding, your ISP can see the URL but can't see the file name, what the file name is, or the files being transferred. When using HTTPS, in theory, yes. Yeah, they can't. I don't think they can see the data that's being passed through. But at the same time, that's why you still want to use a VPN when passing certain information. Let's just say in theory they're not supposed to see it, but they have a record of it. But they're not looking at any files or whatever, but they are seeing they're seeing what you're browsing to. Okay. So again, your scheme is your protocol, the user is your user information, the host or domain. They say that's the most important part of the URL because it tells you the website you're accessing. The port number helps direct your browser to the right service. The path points to the specific file or page on the server. The query string is the part of the URL that starts with a question mark, and it often looks for things as far as terms or inputs, right? But it can be modified, so it's important to handle that securely to prevent attacks. Now, I was actually going to talk about that from a cybersecurity or pen tester perspective. This part right here, that question mark ID 1, that's the part of a website that I'm going to fuzz for. In addition to that, if it was pointing to a file like a document or something like that, that's also something I'm fuzzing for. I would fuzz this. And when I say fuzz, basically I'm tinkering with that part of the website to see if I can find a vulnerability. Off the top of my head, the vulnerabilities I would look for by looking at this ID.1, ID equals 1, I'm looking for some type of injection vulnerability. I'm looking for SQL injection. I'm looking for some type of injection vulnerability. If this were pointing to a file, like a PDF file or something like that, I'm looking for some type of directory traversal vulnerability to see if I can access something on the back end of the server, right? So you want to make sure if you're on the web developer side or the application side of things, you want to make sure that whatever you put here when you do this, you want to make sure that you're doing it securely. You want to make sure that you're sanitizing your input, which means you're making sure the input doesn't actually allow you to execute any type of commands or queries. And you want to just, like I said, you want to make sure, because I'm telling you, anybody who works with any type of pen testing, bug bounty or whatever, and Ty, you're taking a bug bounty course right now. Anybody who's looking at this ID right here, the first thing that's coming to mind is what can I see there? Like this whole thing here, if I were just looking at the website off rip, I'm checking here. And this, I'm putting a proxy up. I'm putting up a burp suite, and I'm looking to see what data gets passed through. I'm doing Wireshark burp suite, and I'm fuzzing, and I'm looking for that. I'm looking to see if I can pass any type of information. Can I see it in real time and clear in plain text? And then here, like I said, I'm fuzzing. I'm taking ID 1 and moving it to ID 2, ID 3, ID 4. Putting in some SQL queries to see if I can access something on the database. Like I said, if it's a file, I'm doing like a dot slash to see if it lets me move, if it lets me move to a directory on the back end. And you'll see it by how the web application or the website responds. Sometimes you'll actually see the results on the website. So I'm looking at those two. Those would be the first two things I'm going after if this were a website that I was testing or looking at. That being said, never test or fuzz a website without permission. It's illegal. So don't do it. But if it were me and I had permission, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Which protocol provides encrypted communication to ensure secure data transmission between a browser and a server? That's HTTPS. What term describes the practice of registering domain names that are misspelled variations of popular websites to exploit user errors and potentially engage in fraudulent services? Oh, geez, what the heck? I forgot the name of that. Typo squatting. There it goes. Again, y'all gotta forgive me. I'm old, and I've been, like I said, I haven't done full-time cybersecurity for the better part of 2 years. So there's some stuff that escapes me a little bit. What part of the URL is used to pass additional information, such as search terms, form inputs, or inputs to the web server? So that would be the query string. Okay. So HTTP messages. So remember, we talked about that the other day. When passing stuff over the internet or passing stuff through web applications, you have your HTTP, your hypertext transfer protocol. You have your requests, and then you have your response messages. So your requests, they're sent by the user to the application or to the server. And then the responses are sent by the application or the server back to the user. Remember, we showed that whole process of starting from the user request to checking the DNS records to see if it has that information, to going out to the internet by going through the firewall because it has permission, and then requesting at the server, and then the server getting the information and passing it back over the internet back to the user. And then we talked about the different type of HTTP requests. Excuse me. You have your get, your post. There's get, post, put, patch, delete. There's a few other ones. There's connect. There's options. There's a lot. But the most popular ones, or the most common ones you're going to see, is get, post, put, patch, and delete. So get is looking to get or retrieve information from the server. Post is you inputting something to the server. So that's like if you're typing in your username and password, that's usually a post command. Put is basically another form of post where you're putting that information there. Patch is like editing. So it's similar to post and put, but you're editing information. So you might append, or you might add something to it, or you might edit the information. And then delete, self-explanatory, it deletes the information. Remember, you have there's like 4 lines or 5 lines in a request. You have the start line here. You have the host, or with your headers. You have your host information. You have the content type. You have the content length, and then the 5th line here is always going to be empty. And then you'll have the body of the request, and then same thing with the response. You'll have this start information, you'll have the content type, the content length, you'll have the date and time stamp, then you'll have a blank space, and then you'll get into the body of the response. Okay, so again, their start line, that's telling you what's being sent. So up here, you see it's a post message going to the login page, and it's using HTTP 1.1. Right. And then on the response, again, it's an HTTP 1.1, and you get this status code of 200 OK. That's telling you that the request went through. successfully. Remember, there's 200 codes, 300 codes, 400 codes, 500. Actually, there's 100 codes, 100 range, 200 range, 300, 400, 500 range codes. 100 is informational, 200 is successful, 300 is there's some type of redirect, 400 is there's something wrong on the client side, 500 is there's something wrong on the server side. So 100 is here's some information, 200 is you're good to go, 300 is okay, but is actually changed or has been redirected. 400 is there something wrong with you, 500 is something wrong with them. Now, just from a pen test or application, would this be something on that try hack me certification? You mean that the SLA certification or SAL certification? It's possible, because as a SOC analyst, you're gonna be looking at requests and response and headers and things like that. So it might be a question. It might be a question, and it could be a performance based question, right? It could be a question, a written question, and then from a performance standpoint, you're still going to have to have that knowledge so that you'll get that. So you'll be able to answer that hands-on question as well. All right. But it's important to know the structure of the HTTP request and a response, especially if you're doing anything in applications. Not that it's like a programming code or something like that, but it's important to understand how it's structured. Right. So again, this is a post to the login. So this is structured and it's showing you, okay, the content type is application, it's URL encoded, the content length is 43, and they're passing a username and password, right? So username was Alexandra, password is secure password. And then on the response side, it's showing you all this information, and you get a 200. That means it's okay, and it's basically reinforcing that here, because you're seeing that it says login successful and then status success. Now, what I will say, and again, I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but what I will say from an application security standpoint, the developers are now actually being, developers are making a default status code for all responses. So what does that mean? Everything would get a status 200 okay, right? Reason being is because people like myself or anybody looking to do something malicious are looking at those status codes, and based on those status codes, you might be able to get valuable information. So what they're telling the developers now is, no matter what, even if it's a bad request, if it's supposed to be a 400, it's 200. If it's supposed to be a 500, it's 200. If it's a 200, it's a 200. If it's 100, it's 200. If it's redirect, it's a 200. Everything gets a status okay. That basically gives an added layer of security, because now attackers can't use that information in their information gathering phase of whatever their mission is, whether it's an assessment or they're doing it for nefarious purposes. And it's smart, right? Status codes have helped me get further plenty of times, and I'm pretty sure when we get to some of the hands-on stuff with the APIs and the web app stuff, I'll show you some examples. Okay. Which HTTP message is returned by the web server after processing a client's request? That is a 200. Okay. That looks like a lot more letters. Oh, did it say LOGIN? No. What follows the headers in an HTTP message? What are you talking about? The empty line. Oh, sorry. I'm like, you have your empty line. Which ATT message is returned by the web server after processing? The response, right? The HTTP response. I was overthinking the question. All right. So now we're going into the request type or the request line and methods. So again, the request is what the user sends to the web server. The response is what the server sends back. Okay. Says here, knowing how they work is super important, especially if you're into cybersecurity. So again, here you see the breakdown. You have the HTTP method, then you have the path of what it's looking at, and then you have the HTTP version. So again, you have your get, post, put, patch, delete, and there's, like I said, there's other ones. Then you have your path. So this path would be tryhack. So what it would look at it, what you would see is tryhackme.com/user/login.html, because you're looking at the path. Remember when we did the web breakdown, when we did the URL breakdown, you have your scheme, your whatever, and then you have your host, you have your domain, and then you have your path. So that's what it's looking at down here. That's what you're looking at down here. You're looking at this path, and you're looking at what method was used to access this path. So you're using a get command to get to this path. And then you have your HTTP version. And then, like I said, you have your host, you have your user agent, which is essentially the browser that you're using. So this would be Mozilla Firefox. And then you have the rest of your information here. So again, the request line is the first part of the request, and it has the HTTP method and the path. So you have the method, path, HTTP version. So your method, you have your get, so it's used to fetch or retrieve data from the server without making any changes. And it says, reminder, make sure you're only exposing the data the user is allowed to see. You want to avoid using anything sensitive like tokens or passwords in your get request because it can show up in plain text. Your post, that's sending the data. So that's inputting the data, right? Like usually used to create or update something. Always validate clean input to avoid attack. So remember, that's what I said. You want to sanitize your input and all of that to make sure that they're not trying to secretly make any type of queries or talk to the backend database or do anything with the JavaScript or anything like that. Put, this is a replace or update. Delete, remove, patch, updates a part of a resource. So it's useful to make small changes without replacing the whole thing. Then you have head. So head is similar to the get command as it pulls or retrieves data, but it's not getting all the data, right? It's just if you want to just kind of do a quick check or check the metadata without having to get the whole response. Options, when you use the options command, that's going to tell you what methods are actually available on that application or that resource. Okay. So like I said, if I'm testing a web application or an API or something, I'm usually going to run the options command just to see what methods are available. Trace is also like options, where it's checking to see what methods are allowed. And then you have connect. So connect is to use if you need to create, if you're connecting to a secure connection. Okay, then you have, like I said, you have your URL path. So we talked about that part. So again, the URL path tells the server where to find the resource that the user's asking for. So if tryhackme.com API users 123, the path would be the /API users /123. Attackers often try to manipulate the URL path to exploit vulnerabilities. It's important to validate the URL path, sanitize the path to avoid any type of injection, and protect sensitive data. So again, just looking at this path, if I were to attack this tryhackme.com API users.123, I'm looking right here, and users 1 through 3, I'm looking to see if that's like a user ID. So I'm going to go user 122, 121, 120, 119, 118, 117, 116. Then I'm also going to go up. I'm going to go users 124, 125, 126, 127, and so on and so forth, just to see how much information I can get and if I can iterate all of that. Believe it or not, there are a ton of vulnerabilities that are still out there like this to this day. Um, and that's literally what they do. You can do it manually, or you can you can automate it or use something like a burp suite, using the intruder module in burp suite and saying, okay, I want to go from 0 to 1,000, and burp suite is going to repeat that get command, or what that command, and every time it repeats the command, it's going to go up in the number. So it's going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 until you go to 1,000 or whatever it is you're telling it to go to. And then what it'll do is it'll record all of those interactions, and and then you from there you'll be able to look at the status codes, right? You'll be able to look at the status codes to see if it's a 200 or a 400 or a 401 or whatever. And like I said, the reason why that's important is because it's important to know is because if you can read those status codes, then quickly you'll be able to filter out, well, which ones were successful and which ones weren't. And now you can look at all the successful ones and see if there's any information, any important information, any data, sensitive information that you can get from those, right? The other thing that I'm looking for, let's say, I'm gonna pose the question to y'all. Let's say the Pat said API user 123. What would you what would you try to mess with in that path? If it said API user, not users, user singular, and then it had an ID like a 123, what would you try to fuzz or mess around with in that situation? That's the sound I gotta get. I gotta get the Jeopardy thing. Come on, someone take a stab at it. If you saw API user 123, what would you try to fuzz? Yep, you could still fuzz the ID part of it. Yeah, so you would still look at 123 and see if you can try to iterate that. But if you saw, if what else would you try to go for? Here, I'm gonna type it in here. Right. So you see API user 123. What would you mess with? This is where you have this is where you kind of have to have that curiosity side of you. This is why I tell people pen testing, especially like application and API pen testing, you have to kind of have the curiosity, almost like a 5-year-old curiosity when you're fuzzing things. Because what I would look at in that situation is if it says API user 123, what if I did API admin 123 or API admin 2, right? So I'm looking to see if I can change that. Well, no, yeah, the 123, but look, instead of messing with that ID parameter, so instead of messing with that ID parameter, I'm looking at that other parameter where it said user. So now I'm looking to see, well, if it says user, there's got to be like an admin. There's got to be something like that. So what if I switch that? What if I switch that to admin? right? And that's known as that's actually a popular API vulnerability. That's actually broken function level authorization, right? That's trying to make changes and elevate privileges. Right? So by well, yes, API fuzz 1 2 3, but that's if you're that's if you're using if you're using something like a tool. If what I can't remember the name of the tool, but yeah, if you're trying to use a fuzzing tool, yeah, you would fuzz that parameter. But I mean, I don't need to use a tool because I'm literally just I can literally put that in manually. It's a quick, you know what I'm saying? It's a quick check. If there's an API user parameter, then there might be an API user there might be an API admin parameter. Oh, okay. I was checking, so I was like, when did that happen? Right? Yeah, yeah. FF and W fuzz. Yeah, those would be the tools. But like I said, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking directly at that parameter. I'm looking at that API, that API user admin. I'm messing with a. I'm trying to switch it, and again that you'll be surprised. You will be surprised that that is still available. That there's still stuff that's out there, and those are quick wins, right? Again, you're talking about bug bounty hunting. That's a quick and easy finding right there. If you see that there's an API and there's some type of path or parameter there that says, "Hey, API users," I'm looking at API. I'm immediately checking API admin, and I'm immediately fuzzing that next part of the path, right? Especially if it's a number, because if you're saying API users, that might be referring to a database called users, and this is a 123rd entry or the 123rd account or whatever in that database. So now like I said, I'm gonna iterate that. I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna go down, and then like I said, and then if there aren't any protections on there, that's gonna stop me, or if I get a 200 status okay, and it's a legitimate 200 status okay, like it gives me an actual result, I'm throwing that into Burp Intruder, and I'm going from 0 to 1,000. Like that's what I'm that's where I'm going with it. Okay. So HTTP versions. This is the protocol version that's used to communicate between the client and the server. Okay. We're on version 1.1 that's been around since 1997. There it allows encoding or chunk transfer encoding, and it's better at caching. There is HTTP 2 that has more features, and then they said there's an HTTP 3 that's supposed to be basically improved HTTP 2 or HTTP 2 on steroids, or it uses a protocol called Quick for more secure connections. You're probably still going to see you probably see HTTP 2. You'll probably still see a lot of 1.1s, and then I said I haven't seen too many HTTP 3s out there, honestly, but I've seen 1 and 2. And then you could also try to switch those two to see if you can do it. There's not really much you can do with that, but it's just, you know, again, if you're just fuzzing things. So that would be HTTP 1.1. Which request method describes the communication options for the target resource, allowing clients to determine. That would be options. And then in an HTTP request, which component specifies the specific resource or endpoint on the web server that the client is requesting, typically appearing after the domain name in the URL. So that would be the URL path. Okay. So moving on, we have HTTP requests. Now we're going back into the headers and bodies again. So remember, you have your 5 lines, or you have your information, your request headers. This allows information to be conveyed to the web server about the request. So you have your host. So again, your host is the web server that you're requesting. Your user agent, that is the information about the web browser. So whether you're browsing from your PC or your mobile device, it'll give you that information, and it'll also tell you the browser, right? So Mozilla Firefox. If you were to do it from Google, it'd probably show you probably see Chrome. The refer, this is the URL that the request came from. So you'll see the refer is google.com. Any type of cookie information. So this is any stuff that's held in the cookies. This could be, there could be session cookies. There can be authentication tokens and authentication cookies and credentials like that. If you do have any type of credential or something like that, they're usually going to have some type of encoding or encryption. You're very rarely going to see like authentication cookies or anything like that in plain text, because then that's your username and password. And then you have the content type. This is the type of format that is this describes the type of format of that data that's being in the request. So again, you'll look at it as you'll see application JSON. So and you'll see what that would look like. Okay. So then you have your request body. So after you have that blank line in the request, now you'll get into the body. So in HTTP requests, like a post or a put, where data is sent to the web server, the data located inside the body, the formatting of the data can take many forms. It can be URL encoded, form data, JSON, or XML. So URL encoded, this is where it's structured in pairs, like key and value. And then multiple pairs are separated by an and symbol. So you'll get a key value, you'll get a key 1 in the value and key 2 in value. So if this were, so using this one, if this were like, you'll see the first key is name, the value is Alexandra, and then you have another key of the age, and then it equals 27. And then you have another key value in with the separated by the and this country equals US. Okay. If you were to see a username or password, or you were to decode a username and password, you might see like username or user Alexandra and password, and then whatever the password is. Okay. Then you have your form data multi-part. So this allows data blocks to be sent where it's separated by a string, a boundary string. And then that's defined, this boundary string is the defined header of the request itself. This type of formatting can be used to send binary data, such as when uploading files. So if you look, you have this here information. It looks something like this. And then then there's some more, there's a content disposition, form data, name, username. So it shows it up here. So the name or equals username, then the username for that is Alexandra. Right. And then there's another separator here. Then the form data, name, profile pic, file name, Alexandra JPG. Right. So now it's showing you the profile picture, and then the file name would be Alexandra JPG. What's going on? What's going on, Lou? And then the content type is a JPEG. Right. It's looking at this right here. Okay, then there's a binary data here representing that would represent that image. JSON, in this format, you'll see it's in a JavaScript object notation. It's also in basically like a key value pair or a name value pair, and then they're separated by commas. and then you'll see that they're separate or not separated. They're contained within these curly braces. So most stuff you're gonna see when dealing with applications, you're especially if you're dealing with some type of API or something, is gonna look like this. It's gonna have that JSON notation. It's gonna have that JSON structure. You're gonna see these brackets, these braces or these brackets, and then it's going to have that information, right? So you see the name, and then there's a comma that separates it to the next one, and then the next value pair, then there's going to be a comma, and then same thing. And then when you see, obviously it's done. There's nothing else that comes after that, so there's no more commas, and that's the end of the information. So now the bracket is closed, the brace is closed. Um, so that's what you'll probably see in most common applications. It'll look something like this. XML is formatted like this. These labels are basically in what's like nested, and you can see the open and closing, right? So again, this is very similar to like the HTML tags when we were doing HTML, messing with HTML earlier. But you see it has like, here's a user. So this is basically the user tag. So here's a user tag, and then within the user tag, you'll have the name, right? You'll have these other tags here. So name, Alexandra, that's the end of the name. Age, 27, that slash age, that's the end of the age. Country, US, that's the end of the country. And then that closes that user's information. So that closes that tag. So think of that like the braces up here, right? And then basically instead of, you see it looks a lot cleaner in JSON as opposed to having to go, I got to create a name tag and now I'm done with the name. So now I have to close the name tag and I have to open up a new one for, right? It's a lot cleaner here with JSON. All right. Anybody have any questions so far? So the HTTP request header that specifies a domain name, that's the host. The default content type for form submissions, where it's a key value pair. I'm just gonna grab it. That is form data, your URL encoded. So let's see if it'll. No, it's not gonna do that. What is that was application? Come on. Oh no, that was the wrong one. No, it is URL encoded. All right, and then it says what part of the request contains additional information like host, user agent. That would be up here. So again, that is the user agent, or no, that's the request header, right? Because that's all the information. Okay. All right. So now we talked about the requests. So now we're gonna go talk. We're gonna talk more about the responses now. So now, again, we talked about that the other day, and then we just talked about it a few minutes ago. Is responses are very similar to the requests. However, remember the responses are what happens from the server side. So the request is you sending, or that's the request is the user or the client requesting information from the application or the server or what have you. The response is the client the client getting the information back. So that's the server sending the information back. The web application sending the information back. So you put in a request to say, I need to get information from this web page. I need to go to, right, Google. The request is you Googling something, right? So if you Google, I don't know, what's today? And then Google comes back and says Monday. Well, the request was you saying what's today, and then the response is today is Monday. The request is you sending the question to Google, and the response is Google sending the information back to you. Okay, and then remember, when dealing with status codes, there are 5 ranges. You have 100 to 199, then you have 200 to 299, 300 to 399, 400 to 499, and then 500 to 599. Okay. Um, so remember, it starts off with the HTTP version. So that tells you what version of HTTP is being used. Then you'll get your status code right next to the HTTP version. That's telling you the outcome of your request. So that's telling you the results. So again, 200. So 100 informational, 200 okay, 300 is a redirect, 400 is something that you did wrong or something bad on your end usually, and then 500 is something bad on the server's end. Okay. And just to kind of show you, so again, 100 and 199, these codes mean the server has received part of the request and is waiting for the rest as like a keep going signal. 200 is a successful response, which means everything worked as expected. The server processed the request and sent the data back. 300 is that means the request has been moved to a different location or like a new URL. 400 means that there's a problem with your request. Maybe your URL is wrong, or you missed some required info, or you put in the wrong username and password. And then 500 means that there's something wrong with the server. The server encountered some type of error while trying to fill that request. There's usually a server-side issue, and it's not your fault. It's not the client's fault. Okay. So some of the common ones you'll see, if you get a status 100, that means continue. That means it got part of your request and is looking for more. Okay. 200, that means everything is successful. You're good to go. 300 moved permanently. That means it went to a new URL. So you have to check the URL. 404, that means a server that couldn't find that resource that was given. So double check that you got the right information. 500 is an internal server error. So that means something went wrong on the web server's end. So going back to what I was saying before about security methods with status codes. If I put in some information, if I start fuzzing a website and I get a 100, and that means that you got a piece of the request and you're looking for more, that doesn't quite tell me that it's good or bad, but it's telling me that I might be moving in the right direction. So I'm gonna keep going until I get some type of a different status code, right? 200, boom, it was successful. I'm good to go. 300, if it was moved, it might tell me what the new resource is. It might tell me what the new URL is, and then I can go target that new URL. 400, that tells me that something was wrong. There was an error. So again, let's say I started with a 100 and then I put some information in, and then it came back with a 400 saying not found. Okay, that tells me that's not the right resource. Let me go back until I can get a 200. And then 500, if there's an issue with the server, that means the server could have possibly, for whatever reason, the server didn't process the request, right? So again, not necessarily my fault. Could be something wrong on the server end. Let me go back and see if I can fuzz and see if I can get more 200s or 300s, and let me see what I can do with that. Now, if developers start implementing the strategies of just saying 200 for everything, it doesn't matter, right? If it's a 100 and it continue, but all I see is a 200, then the idea of it is it will deter attackers. It'll deter an attacker from doing any more fuzzing. If all they keep getting is 200s and they don't necessarily know if it's actually a 200, like everything went well, like everything went like it was supposed to, like successful, or if it was a 400 code or a 500 code, that's going to deter some attackers, especially some low level attackers who may not know how to look for other fuzzing techniques or look for other type of indicators that you're doing something, right? So because again, if imagine that, like, hey, is this red or blue? Yes. Is today Monday or Tuesday? Yes. Is it Wednesday? Yes. Right. Imagine you just got the same answer for everything. At some point, you're like, okay, is it not now? So now you have to try to look for other things. You have to look for other signs, other tells, and again, when we get to some of the hands-on stuff, I'll show that. But that's why again, tools like Burp Suite and like proxy tools like Burp or Zap, or even Kaido. I haven't really messed with Kaido, but proxy tools are great because it allows you to see a lot more information, that to the naked eye you would just think, oh, okay, whatever. I don't know I don't know what else to look for. There's certain things, there's certain other things you can look for and go, okay, there's more to this, or there's nothing here. Okay, so what part of the HTTP code provides? I'm just being lazy. I don't want to type version, status code, brief explanation of the status is outcome. Oh, no, that's not right either. Whatever. Nani? What did I do wrong? Include a status code, reason phrase. No, that's not it either. Status line. Which category of HTTP response codes indicate the web server encountered an internal error? So that's an internal server error. That's a 500 code. What category? Why does it look like? Which category of HTTP response codes indicates that the web server encountered an internal issue or is unable to fulfill the client's request? All right, I'm going to just put the whole 500 internal status. Yeah, it's not. Why is it not? What? What? Oh, okay. Oh, server error response. Sure. Could not be found on the web server 404. All right. Headers and body. Why is it? I feel like it's repeating again. Oh no, okay, it's giving it, okay, so it's actually going into that. All right, my fault. So your response headers, again, you have your version and your response code, but then you have your headers, right? So you have your content type, you have the content length, you have the timestamp, and then you have the the message, right? So this again, this is like JSON. Okay, so you'll have your timestamp or your date. So date Friday, the 23rd of August, 2024. Your content type. This is telling you what type of content it's getting, whether it's going to be HTML or JSON or something else. It also includes a character set like UTF-8 to help the browser display the stuff properly, right? So you'll get the content type. It tells you this is a text HTML file. And then the character set is UTF-8. The server, this is telling you the server software that's handling it. Again, good for debugging. Also, server information might be useful. So remember, actually, I'll see if it does it again. So then you have your cookie. So this is your session ID here. So this is your session cookie. This sends cookies from the server to the client, so the client's going to store that for any future requests. So again, like you log into you log into a URL or you log into a web application, you're going to get some type of session token or session cookie. And what that does is it allows you to navigate, right? So think of it like you go to a banking site, right? You go to Bank of America. So you go to Bank of America, you log in with your credentials, you're going to get some type of session token. And what that allows you to do is navigate through the website. It's going to let you go through the website, check your balances, check this, check that. And then what's going to happen is because you have this session cookie or this token, it's not going to the web application is not going to ask again for your credentials. The web application is going to say, okay, well, where's the cookie? Oh, okay, they're already logged in. If it looks for the session cookie or the session token and doesn't see this, it's going to think that the session either timed out or that the session was never authenticated, and it's going to ask you to input that information again. This is useful to attackers because, again, it's not that it's easy to do these days, but this is useful to attackers because if they're able to steal your session ID while your session is still live, they can hijack your session. Meaning, if I were to send you a phishing email or some type of phishing text or whatever, and let's say you were logged into your bank account and it didn't have any protections in place. Let's say you're logged into your bank account. I send you some type of message on social media, or I send you an email. You click the link, and then when you click the link, I get it. It allows me to steal your session token. When I steal your session token, now I can put that session token into my browser request to go to that website, and now I'm logged in as you. Because you're still, because that was still an authenticated session that was still happening when it was live. Now, if you were to successfully log out of the application and I were to somehow get your old session ID, in theory, I'm not supposed to be able to do that. Back in the day, you were able to do that. You were able to find old cookies and access the session previously. But nowadays you can't do it, right? Shoot, you were even able to, let's say you logged out of an account and then you go, oh crap, and you hit the back button and then you were logged back into it. That's the same concept. Like I said, you can't do that so much now. Okay. So again, to keep things secure, they make sure cookies are set with the HTTP only flag. So remember what I was saying before. I said if they were to steal your cookie and there weren't any type of protections in place, this HTTP only flag allows it to make sure that it's not being accessed, and then you'll also get a secure flag to make sure that it's only sent over HTTPS. So remember, HTTP is plain text, HTTPS is secure. So what happens is when it checks this information to pass the session token or to pass this cookie, it's going to check to see, is it secure? And if it's secure, then it'll send it only over HTTPS. If this flag isn't there, it'll send it no matter what. Okay, your cache control. This tells you how long the cache, the response is cached before it's checked with the server. So 600. So this one here is basically telling you 600 seconds. So it's about 10 minutes. Okay. Now, if you have any sensitive information and you don't want your sensitive information being cached, then you could do the no cache header, and it won't cache any of that information. Then you have your location. So your location, this is used if there's any type of redirection, like a 300 response. So this is going to tell you if the resource moved. Okay. If users can modify this header during requests, be careful to validate and sanitize it. Otherwise, you could have open redirect vulnerabilities. So basically what that means is if this is invalidated or sanitized and you're able to actually change this, so instead of index HTML, I can go badhacker.com and I can redirect your site to a harmful site, and that maybe that's under my control. Okay, then you have your response body. So this is where the body of your information lives. Okay, so this is your HTML, your images, any JSON. The server is going to send this back to the client. So if you want to prevent any type of cross-site scripting, you want to always make sure that you're sanitizing your data to make sure that it doesn't send anything back in the response. So again, you have your header information, and then you'll have that blank line, and then you'll have the body of the response. Okay. Which HTTP response header can reveal information about the server's software? Sorry, is that this one? No. What the? Oh, sorry. Did I do? Was it supposed to be? No. What am I looking at? What am I looking at? So, which HTTP response header can reveal information about a web server software and version? Oh, so okay, so it didn't show it here, but basically, like I said before, like usually what happens is it'll show the server and then the name, and then it'll also show the version it's running. If like so, for example, if this was like Nginx 1.15.2, I'm googling Nginx 1.15.2 because I'm looking to see what vulnerabilities or what security concerns or security issues um, are in that version, and then seeing how I can exploit it. Which flag should be added to cookies in the set cookie response? That should be secure. Which flag should be added to cookies in the set cookie HTTP response header to prevent from being accessed via JavaScript, thereby enhancing security against cross-site scripting attacks? Blah, 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 blah. Was that no cache? No. HTTP only. All right. So we have that information there. Okay. So now let's go into the headers. So when you have headers, geez. So we talked about those default headers, but then you have other headers here. So you have your content secure policy, you have your strict transport security like HSTS, you have your X content type options, and then you have your referrer policy. So these the process the not the process the I drew a blank. The purpose the purpose of security headers is to protect you against different types of attacks, right? So your content security policies, that's going to protect you against things like cross-site scripting. Okay. You use the different security headers, so let's just check out security headers here. You can scan your website and it'll actually show you what type of what headers or whatever is missing from your website. That's actually a tool that you can also use as a pen tester. Again, using this quick website. So let's just do actually I can't because my website's down right now. But you could do that, and it'll tell you what headers are there, what headers are missing, and that's a finding, right? This is a find like that. This is a valid finding. And then if you wanted to further validate it, you could look up the headers yourself by using um, tools like Burp Suite or Zap. Okay. So a content security policy header is an additional security layer that can help mitigate attacks like cross-site scripting. Malicious code could be hosted on a separate website or a domain and injected into a vulnerable website. The content security policy header provides a way for administrators to say what domains or sources are considered safe and provides a layer of mitigation of those for those attacks. Okay, with the header itself, you'll see properties like default source or default SRC or script SRC and others. Okay, so your default, that's going to specify the default policy of itself, which means the current website. Your script source or your script SRC, that's going to specify the policy of where scripts can be loaded from. So which is self along with scripts hosted on TryHack, right? So if you look here, self script source is self, and then also cdn.tryhackme.com. And then you have your style. This is basically saying where your cascading style sheet or your CSS style sheets can be loaded from, which again, it can only be loaded from itself. It can only be loaded from the website. Okay, then you have your HSTS or your strict transport policies. This is going to make sure that your browsers are always secure, or it's only browsing on HTTPS. Right, so you want to make sure that you have strict transport, and then you'll see the max age. So you see this number. Let's just go ahead and if you divide by 60, that's what is that? 1,700,000, 10,000, 100,000. So that's 1,051,200 hours, right? Because you're doing that by 60. Or no, that's seconds. So I don't know. Whatever. Where are we? Oh wait, I googled it and didn't switch it over. But anyway, you see the max age, right? And then and then if you include subdomains where it says preload, this is an optional setting that allows websites to be included in preload lists. So browsers use preload lists to enforce secure transport security before they even visit the website the very first time. Okay, so again, this is protecting you to make sure that even if you type in HTTP, it'll redirect to an HTTPS, and if it's not HTTPS, then it won't go on the website. Google, you'll see that a lot with Google. If you try to access the website and it has a strict transport security policy on there, you'll actually see the HSTS, and it won't let you browse to the insecure website. Yeah, Ty, man. Look, we're trying to knock them out. At least knock this one out, and then like I said, we're good for today. How long have we been going so far? Okay, about an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, then you have your refer policies. Oh no, did I skip one? I did. Your content type. So your content type is to it makes sure that browsers don't guess the MIME time, and MIME, and you can actually just click it right here. So MIME is the multi-purpose internet mail extension. So that's just a standard that extends formats for email messages to support different text and characters. So basically, X content is instructing browsers to not guess that and only use whatever's in the content type. So you'll see X content type options no sniff. So the no sniff is saying do not sniff or try to guess the MIME type. Okay, then lastly, you have your refer policy. Your refer policy controls the amount of information that's sent to the server. Okay, so this is kind of like, trying to protect from any type of not necessarily denial of service, but it basically is just making sure you're not sending how much information you're sending. So I guess you could say it's a denial of service. But it's specific, right? So this header controls the amount of information sent to the destination web server when a user is redirected from a source web server, such as when they click a hyperlink. The header is available to allow the web administrator to control what information is shared. So you have the refer policy, which is no refer. So it completely disables any information from being sent about the refer. Then you have the same origin policy. This will only send the refer information when the destination is part of the same origin. This is helpful if you want refer information passed when hyperlinks are within the same website, but not outside to external websites. Then you can have a strict origin, so that makes it the policy sends a refer as the origin when the protocol stays the same. So if a refer is sent when the HTTPS connection goes to another HTTPS. And then you have when cross origin. This is similar to strict, except for the same origin request will send a full URL to the origin header. I feel like we should probably. All right, so content security policy, which property can be set to define where scripts can be loaded from? That would be script source. When configuring HSTS headers to ensure all subdomains of a website also use HTTPS, which directive should be included to apply the security policy of both the main domain and the subdomains? Okay, which HTTP header directive is used to prevent browsers from interpreting files like different MIMEs? That was the X content, and then that was no sniff, right? All right, so now we get to go do some practical. Let's go ahead and view this site. So, no, we'll just jump in. So here you can make your request method. This is your URL here. This is to send the request. If you need to have any parameters, and then you'll get that information. So we're going to go ahead and make a GET request to the API users path. So API users, and we'll go ahead and click go. And you see we get this information here. So again, you have your header information, then you have the blank space, and now you have your body. You see the title, so it says try hack me. This looks like a bunch of stuff that's not important, but then this is your HTML. So you have your HTML here. So this is all HTML code. Class Alex. Okay, so yeah, there's nothing else there. I was just looking to see if there was anything useful. Now, if we make a post to the API users too and update the country, right? So now we'll just go ahead post API, right, and then user 2, and then we hit go. So now we post. So now it updated the user successfully. So we make a post and then update the country of Bob from UK to US. So let's actually go ahead and hit get so you can see what it looks like. You see it's a 404 not found. So we'll go ahead and do a post again. And now they said we want to change our parameters. So we want to go country, and then the parameter is US. And now we'll save it, and then we'll hit proceed, and we'll hit go. And then it says you've modified the user data. And again, it looks like it looks simple, but you actually um this is basically fuzzing, right? So when I was telling you about fuzzing, so like I said, I'm looking at, you see how you says user 2, and it's probably not going to let you do it, because even when I did the get command, it gave me a 404, right? But like I said, I would do user 3, go, right? But then like I said, it's all 404. So I would see if I can keep doing it um until I got some information, right? But here, look, I changed user 3. Let's do user 5, right? So whoever user 5 is now has now says their home country is the US, right? Even though but it says user not found. So actually what this is showing you is like 200 status okay for everything. So I was like, oh yeah, I just changed this user, but if you don't look until you look into the paragraph, there is no user 5. Right? So this is what I was explaining before when I said just make all your status codes 200, because here again at first glance you saw, oh boom, country US, oh 200 okay. Yay, I changed it. That's a finding. But it's not until you looked a little bit more to see, oh wait, there was no user. You just gave me you just gave me a user okay, when honestly you should, it was supposed to give, not that it was supposed to, that was a 40, that was a 400 code. That was a 404. The resource isn't found. There is no user 5. Okay. So make a delete request to API user 1. Go ahead and hit go, and it says you just deleted a user. So we go ahead and we are done. All right, so we have successfully finished web application basics. This is just a conclusion. So it says what components are involved with web applications, the structure of the uniform resource locator URL, what are the HTTP messages, requests, headers, and responses, and the importance of security headers. Okay, and it says enjoy, and like I said, we are done. Okay, so then I'm not gonna put up a badge, but the next thing here they said is JavaScript essentials. I think we said we're not gonna jump into that. I want to look at when we looked at this last week. We said that's okay here. Scroll down. So we said, is it off the list because we finished it? No. Okay. Yep. So the next one would be JavaScript essentials. Okay, cool. So that's what we'll do. Well, we're not going to do that today. I think we're going to call it today. So we're going to knock out all of this this week. We're going to try to do JavaScript and maybe some SQL fundamentals. Actually, let me see. Yeah, so we're going to try to knock out everything in web hacking this week. And then after that, we're going to go into offensive tooling. No, we'll probably come back to that. But yeah, so we'll do web hacking, offensive tooling. And then after we're done with those, we're going to skip the rest. And then we're going to go into, I stubbed my toe earlier today, and I feel like it might be broken. It really hurts. But then from there, we'll jump into, we're going to jump into the introduction to web hacking. So we're going to do all of this: walking application, content discovery, subdomain enumeration, authentication. We're going to do all of this. And then we're going to do all the Burp Suite. And then we'll probably do network. We'll do some network security. So we'll go into passive and active recon. We'll look at the Nmap. We'll look at protocols. We'll probably do all of this. Yeah, we'll do all of this. Not sure. We'll see where we are when we get to privilege escalation. But yeah, so once we're done with the web hacking, then we're going to jump into the junior penetration testing path. And then we're going to go back. Then we're going to go do web fundamentals again, which honestly will probably cover most of this stuff. We'll probably have covered most of this stuff in the previous one. Let me just go back to junior pen tester and see. Yep, intro to server side file inclusion, IDOR, cross site command injection, SQL injection. And now let's go web application. Oh no, I jumped ahead. Web fundamentals, file inclusion, SRF, cross site command injection. Yeah, so we're gonna do the junior penetration tester, and then most of this stuff. And then, but because what I really want to do, network security, meta. So we'll cover all of that stuff here. And then when we get to web fundamentals, we would have covered most of this anyway. So we're not gonna have to do that again. We did DNS already. We did HTTP. We did websites, and we put it all together already. We did that earlier. So we're gonna do that in the junior penetration testing. So we'll cover that. We're going to cover Burp Suite in that module as well. And then we'll go into web hacking fundamentals. So again, how websites work, HTTP, Burp Suite, which we'll probably cover again. We'll probably have covered up here. And then we're going to go into the OWASP, and then we're going to get into Juice Shop, and we're going to get into these right here. And this is going to be a lot of the hands-on stuff. And then what we're going to do is we'll probably do it in Burp Suite, but we'll probably do it here in Try Hack Me, but I'll also show you how to build it in your own lab, or you can even use like the cloud version, like the Heroku app of it. So we're going to mess around with that. Okay. So we're getting there. And then are we going to look at any red teaming? No, I don't think we're going to do any red teaming stuff since we're focusing on application stuff. So, like I said, a lot of this stuff we're going to revisit, but so just to recap, we are going to finish up web hacking, and then we're going to go into offensive security tooling. And then we're going to jump from there. We're going to jump from there straight into the junior penetration tester. And then we'll do web fundamentals, and then we'll do web application pen testing. And then from there, I think we'll circle back and do security engineer. So we're going to knock these out and then go here. Right? And then after that, we'll see. I have a whole list, but let's get through those first, and then we'll see if we can find some challenges. All right, so we're gonna call it, because we're almost at the 2-hour mark. I gotta finish up, what I gotta do here. Again, lesson of the day: never let somebody tell you what your value is. You know, you bring what you bring to the table, and believe in yourself, and always bet on yourself, because no one, if you don't go hard for you, no one else will. If you want people to advocate for you, show that you're worth advocating for. And guess what? And then when the time comes where it may seem like they're not advocating for you, then advocate for your damn self. I know it's easier said than done. I know times are hard, but you don't get stronger. You don't get stronger by dealing in weak situations. So, like I said, I will go in more depth I'll go more in depth on at a later date, but just know that we're definitely going to turn it up a notch leading into the summer between here, Alpha Cybersecurity, Alpha Esports and Technology. We're definitely going to ramp it up, and yeah, we're gonna right the wrongs and again do for ourselves. Um, People will always try to benefit off of you more than they allow you to benefit off of yourself. So I'm done with that. Like I said, the last few years has been, we've talked about it. The last few years has been an eye opening and hellish experience at the same time. But I'm gonna, we take the lessons and we roll with it. So again, I want to thank everybody. Actually, I want to thank yourselves. I want to applaud you. I want to thank you for rocking with me. Um, Again, we're on day 11, so this we're slowly moving along. We're getting there. We're making progress. So again, I want to thank everybody who's here. So our basically our new regulars now. So we have L Style, Camby, Eric, Thumbstick, the Thumbstick, the homie Ty. Shout out to CCIE by 30, Dara J Footman. If y'all if y'all want some networking content, please go check out her content. If you're still here, throw your link in the chat. But if you want some dope content, or if you want some dope advice with networking, go please. She's one of the few people that I will advocate for and speak up for and say, nah, she's on it. She know her stuff. She said she's making content again. The streets need us. We got to flood the streets again in 2025. So that's what we're gonna do. Another one I would shout out is John Breath, JB, another networking guy, networking and cloud guy. Shout out to him. So again, the streets are starving. We're gonna, and I guess we all got the call. We all we all got the call, and it's time to answer the call and put it out there. Eric, congratulations on getting your with your YouTube content and watching it grow. Keep up with it. Like I said, it's not always going to be great. You're not always going to get the ideal numbers, but that consistency will definitely pay off. Thumbstick, you already know, man. Like I said, keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to hearing more good news and more updates from you. I still owe you an email. Ty, man, like I said, man, just stick to it, man. Don't get in your own way. Keep going. Eric, like I said, I already said Eric L Style, man. Keep it up with the Security X, with those labs and the hands-on stuff. And like I said, any way we can figure out how to enhance and elevate your hands-on stuff to kind of show that the experience. Let's work on that and let's make it happen. Like I said, man, I got time today. So and Dara, CCIE by 30. If you, like I said, if you're still on here, let me know when that content starts getting created, and let's figure out how we can collaborate and get that stuff up there and promote. We're all about elevating and building over here. So I will be back on tomorrow. Like I said, I think since we're kind of making good headway, I think I can actually probably get back to some of my gaming stuff now. But we're gonna but tomorrow, like I said, we'll probably do the JavaScript, and then I think, like I said, I think we'll be good, and we'll be at the center tomorrow. Jeez, like worst entrepreneur ever. No, I'm joking. Like I said, man, life got in the way, and I had to do some cleaning and some rearranging, because we're getting back to it, and one thing led to another. So Y'all be safe. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Like I said, we're gonna get some stuff done here. I'm gonna get this renovated. Like we're gonna revamp it, man. Like I said, I took a lot of notes the last 6 months and try, or actually the last 2 years. I've just kind of been sitting back, and I really feel like we gotta strike now, man. Like I said, so yeah, it sucks that, like I said, I can't get into too much detail just yet, but stay tuned. All right. So y'all go ahead, y'all be safe. I'm gonna go grab me some dinner, and I'm gonna go watch some wrestling, and I'm gonna take my behind to the shower, and then take my behind to bed, so I can get up early tomorrow, so I can go hit this punching bag and get on this bike. So y'all be safe, and talk to y'all later.